Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Cahill and welcome back to my channel. It is the 31st of October. This is the spookiest that I'm going to get. NaNoWriMo starts in less than 24 hours. Let's start Preptober. Despite the fact that I decided to do NaNoWriMo quite a while ago, I am dreading the coming 30 days because I have been so demotivated the entire month of October. I'm really worried that I've sort of set myself up to fail by saying that I'm going to be taking part in NaNoWriMo, because do I really have the motivation and the will and the drive to write 50,000 words? I don't know, but I need to get out of this demotivated funk somehow. I have plans that I need to do, so this is how I'm going to attempt to do them. For NaNoWriMo, my plan is to finish off the second draft of Stars and Smoke and Other Intangible Things, aka Osaseoit, just at midpoint now. I've been struggling with the scene before midpoint over the entire month of October. So I haven't been doing a really good job of it. It is done now. It sucks, but it's done, and so we can move on. So really, Preptober today, the only thing I want to do, so I can sort of start NaNoWriMo fresh tomorrow, is to finish midpoint. That is the only thing that I want to do. I have two thoughts on midpoint. The first is that it's going to be really easy to do because midpoint, the events of midpoint are not changing from draft 1 to draft 2. They're exactly the same. So midpoint is already written. I just need to rewrite it. I don't need to change much about it. So that's going to be fine. The second point is it's going to be quite difficult because while the events are not changing, the POV is changing. So the original POV for midpoint was Freya. In the second draft, it's going to be Theo. So all of the hard work is going to come from me having to sort of weed out all of the character introspection parts, the perspective of what is going on, things like that. And Theo and Freya are two very different characters. So I think that's going to be not as easy as I want it to be in order for the midpoint to go as smoothly as I want it to. But with midpoint done, that means the only thing I've got to do for NaNoWriMo to complete the novel is, you know, the second half of Act 2 and Act 3, which is 34 scenes. So which is basically one scene per day, right? With the occasional 2 scenes for 3 or so of those days. And I feel that's doable if I have the motivation to do it. So I'm going to really need to utilize live streams a lot in November in order for me to get this work done, because that gives me the kick up the butt I need to actually do some writing. I'm going to do things today in this precise order. 1, I'm going to get some tea. 2, I'm going to get some breakfast. While I eat my breakfast and drink my tea, I'm going to reread through the midpoint as it currently is. Then after breakfast, I will probably still have tea. We're going to get started with writing midpoint part 1, because it's split into 2 scenes despite the fact it takes place in the same place at the same time, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I've just reread the midpoint. It's fine. I don't mind how it goes. I know what it is that I need to change and the areas that I need to sort of move into the different POV. The issue I'm having, and it's not an issue that I need to fix right now, but it's an issue that I'm going to make a note of, is that from the scene previously, which is the day before, to midpoint, it's sort of a very jarring transition between the two. It is basically the end of one chapter is the adults going, no, we can't go and investigate, we want to learn more first, to the kids going and investigating like the adults have told them not to. And the transition works fine, I suppose, in most places. It doesn't work very well here, and I'm not really going to worry about what it is I need to do to make that transition seem smoother than it already is. I think the pacing is slightly off as well between the 2 scenes chapters, because everything sort of big thing, big thing, and it's sort of, I don't know, it feels a little bit rushed, but again, that's something I'm not going to worry about for this draft. Draft 2 is really just me getting the plot in the correct place, getting the plot making sense and adding some 3 dimension to the villain. I don't really need to be worrying about anything as big as pacing just yet. That can wait for the 3rd draft. You see how I'm doing all of this talking about my stuff is really just me putting off getting the work done. I'm very good at doing that and I need to stop. So tea, breakfast, and we're gonna get to work. Midpoint is now just 1 scene, not 2. It is also now over 3,000 words long, so I don't know which is better. Okay, I am more or less done with the first half of this chapter now. I've just got this last little bit of the end to do before we then move into the second half of the chapter, which is where like the big bad thing happens. And it didn't occur to me as I was reading through everything to see that everything was where I wanted it to be. But a lot of this last part of like the first half of the chapter ends in like a fight. I need to now change this fight from Freya's POV, where she's like just has a bat and is whacking people, to Theo's POV. There's a couple of lines in this scene which I can't use now because it's in a different POV, but I like those lines so much. So I've taken those lines out and I've saved them in the notes. And I should be able to find another place to put those lines in another one of Freya's POVs, but I just love those lines so much. I really want to keep them. So I'm going to have to try my best to find a place to actually put them. But we're doing okay so far. It's not going as horribly as I, over imagined it would. But yeah, it's just this fight bit. And then most of the second half should be okay. There's a little bit here where in the second half, Freya is watching something happen to Theo, where then I'll need to just put that entirely in Theo's POV. But what is happening to Theo is something that I haven't thought about. Words. Okay, so Theo's in some sort of trance in this, and we're just watching him be in the trance. So I'm going to need to change it from watching him being in trance to writing Theo's experience in this trance, which I have sort of done with other characters in this book, but it's only been like a sentence or so. I feel like this one is a very important one. I'm going to need to really have to draw this out and delve deep into this trance-like state that he's been put in, because I do want him to go away being affected by what has happened to him in this scene. Because it wasn't something I touched on in the first draft, I want to touch on it in the second draft. Because of the link to the villain, it's, make the villain more 3-dimensional. So I think that's going to be a difficult thing to do as well, in which it's something else I'm going to have to sit here and imagine and try and make as horrifying without being horror as I possibly can, so we can really get a feel of what this villain is capable of before going into the rest of the second act and seeing that he is capable of so much more than we get in this midpoint chapter. So that is my plan. And now that I've spoken it aloud, it feels a lot more daunting than I actually want it to be. So I'm psyching myself out a little bit because I've done that, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll get there when we get there. We're just gonna prod on and focus on what I was complaining about earlier, which is this fight scene, and we will worry about the rest of it when we get to the rest of it. Okay, we are done with the fight scene. It took me a while. It took me 2 sprints to sort of finalize this fight scene. I still need to do something with the beginning of the scene. Add some location description. Bear with me while I just write a note to do that. Location description and character in introspection at the beginning of the chapter, because I scrolled all the way up to make sure that I'd filled in everything, and I needed to do that. It's fine. It's not the best. It is roughly the same amount of words, luckily, but I don't know what it is. Writing a scene where one guy is like physically fighting against other guys, I can't write as well as it's just someone whacking people with a stick and not getting so much attacked back because they're being held off. So it will do. It's written, it will do. Whatever. So now I am sort of heading into the second half of the chapter, where everything turns. They've been doing really, really well so far in the book. They've been achieving their goals. This is where things take a bad turn for them, and it is completely the fault of these kids who decided to go to this place in the first place and investigate before finding anything out, which is what the villain wanted them to do in the first place. So the kids doing this have caused this bad thing to happen, and the turn in the novel where things are going to start going downhill for them very, very quickly. So most of that is going to stay the same. I am still going to have to change the perspective, the character perspective of a lot of this at the beginning, which is fine. That's not going to take me a very long time at all. Then we've got to reach the trance bit, which I want to try and keep quite long. I want to maybe make it 100 to 200 words. We'll see how we go. Again, I've spoken about that before. And then it's just finishing off the scene, which again will stay the same roughly as it is, except with the perspective change, in which I need to add a little bit more in regards to the perspective, considering what the character is about to go through. And the final lines and everything like that can then also basically stay the same as well. So really it's just this trance bit that I now need to sit and sort out. And I think my plan is to free write a little bit, sort of like the feelings that I want to happen. Any pain that they're going to feel, I sort of want that in there. Any descriptive elements, feelings, things that he might see or hear or experience, and jot down those I want, and then reference that free writing when it comes to completing the scene a little bit later. Okay, we've just finished another sprint. I have sort of worked out what is going to happen throughout the first half of the second half of the chapter. Not done quite as much free writing as I wanted to get done, but we do have things I sort of want to include. I wanted to try and really drive home that this is bad, what is happening. And I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like I'm losing my steam now to get this finished. But I'm so close to finishing it, and I need to finish it. Like, this is my Preptober day 1 12 hours thing that I want to do. I need to get it finished, and I'm so close to getting it finished, so I can't just stop. And I don't want to take a break, because I know that if I take a break, I'm not going to go back to it. So I think what's happening is I'm thinking too much about it, and that is what is sort of holding me back from getting it written. because I'm thinking too much about it. I am thinking in terms of, that doesn't sound right, I don't like how that's going, that needs to be reworked a little bit. So no, I just need to get it done, get it written, and it's a second draft and it's going to change anyway, so what does it matter what it sounds like right now? It doesn't matter what it sounds like. I need to get that back firmly in my head, because thinking that way is what stalled me so much on the previous scene for like the entire month of October. And I don't want that thinking to follow me into November for NaNoWriMo, because then that's just going to make NaNoWriMo difficult, and I don't need that to happen either. So I want to, in the next 18 minutes I've got of this specific sprint, get that trance scene written, and then hopefully finish off the last little bits of that scene, because there's only like another 300 or so words I just need to rework for that scene after the bit that I need to write. And I could do that in 18 minutes if I just focus and don't think or do anything else, and don't worry about the perfectionism of it all. It's going to change anyway, it's going to change anyway, so it doesn't matter what it sounds like. And maybe get some more tea as well, because I want some more tea. It sucks, but it is done. I have finished the chapter. We are done. I have written what it is that I needed to write. I have fixed everything that I needed to fix. I think I've fixed everything that I've needed to fix. I will give it another quick read through just to make sure I have changed all of the perspective that I need to change, and that I don't have any sentences that have she in it when I'm referring to Theo, because I've just like not edited those specific bits at the moment. But it is done. It is 3,100 words long, which I think is roughly what it started out as in the first place, which is fine. The ending sort of like very much doesn't cut off, but I think there's a bit more I can add to the end in regards to character introspection, or sort of like a, I don't know, just like a moment of crap, what has just happened, before I officially end the chapter. But again, the future Sarah's problem, really. I don't need it specifically for this draft, which is fine. Oh, it's not done. Okay, the chapter's not done. I haven't done the beginning part of it. Whatever. It's done. I don't care. I'll just leave it starting with the really awkward sentence of dialogue that I've got, and we don't know when it is, what day it is, what time it is, or anything like that, and I'll just leave it at that. I'm not bothered anymore to do it. Okay, but yeah, we're done, we're good. It works, it fits. Still think the pacing's off, but everything that present Sarah needs to do is done, and everything else that I have felt that I've needed to do is future Sarah's problem, and not something that I need to worry about myself now. So I can happily start NaNoWriMo tomorrow with the second half of Act 2, and we will have 35 scenes to write for the duration of NaNoWriMo. It is quite early in the afternoon, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm now going to get myself some tea and lunch and celebrate the fact that I have done something that I planned to do and have gotten it done without stopping or procrastinating or losing my motivation 100% completely. And I will see you guys in the next video for NaNoWriMo. Good thoughts and happy writing.